Hey, everybody, this is Eric Diamond, and you're listening to The Mike Wagner Show.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available on Amazon.
The Mike Wagner Show, also brought to you by The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, available on Amazon, highlighting the Book of David.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Wave Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia, Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Coming soon, Missing 2 by Mia Molson-Zia, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by A Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, now on Amazon. Keyword, Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner, and the Sensei Swing. Eric Dunn was the latest, All of Me. New music coming soon. EricDiamondMusic.com. Make sure you check it out today. We're here with a terrific gentleman who is an author with multiple degrees and 36 years of Fortune 100 leadership with IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, and proven thought leaders in adapting advanced technologies, implementing complex IT applications, and advocate for internet, cybersecurity, and more. He's also a Disney published composer, musician with multiple CDs, inventor, licensed Coast Guard charter captain, entrepreneur, and the list goes on and on, including researcher of history prophecy and also author of AI, espionage, religious, political, and history. And he's got a new book of a black hole experiment, which is creating a portal to a higher dimension and leashing a quantum signal that entangles every computer on Earth. And what is it? We'll find out just 1 minute. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from Plus Studios, somewhere that is not AI or AI, wherever you call it, somewhere on Earth. The amazing author, multiple degrees, 36 years of experience. The book is called The Image. We've got the multi-talented Guy Morris. Guy, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
What an introduction. Thank you, Mike. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Guy. You're an author with multiple degrees, 36 years experience, Fortune 100 leadership, IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, proven thought leader in adapting advanced technologies, implementing complex IT applications, advocate for internet and cybersecurity. You're also Disney published composer, musician with multiple CDs, inventor, licensed Coast Guard charter captain, entrepreneur, and more. You have a new book, which is about a black hole experiment, creating a portal to a higher dimension and unleashing a quantum signal that entangles every computer on Earth. It's called The Image. It's third book in the Snow Chronicles series. Before getting all that, Guy, tell us how you first got started.
Well, first got started in what? I mean, you've listened
all the way back, Sherman. Way back. Time machine, way back. Or like the TARDIS in
Let me say that I have a very dysfunctional relationship with leisure. We just don't get along. I get antsy if I sit around too much, watch too much TV, or goof off. There's always feel like there's something else that could be done, read, researched. Life is too short to let it slip by. I actually started as a homeless runaway at age 13. Very violent home environment. I needed to escape to, I thought at the time, save my life. I wound up getting a GED at age 15. I was still kind of functionally illiterate. But by the time I was 19, I had already been foolish enough to get married and was a father. And so I needed to kind of figure out how to turn my life around a little bit. And I got an opportunity to go to college. And even though I knew it would be difficult because of how far behind I was, to me, it was a chance to change my stars. And that was the beginning of me digging in and trying to continually change who I was, how I thought, what I could do, prove that all of the limits I was told I had as a child were just imaginary. that I could actually be what I wanted to be, and become something that meant something. And that became so. By the time I graduated in my undergraduate, I had 3 degrees. I had been given a full scholarship to go to graduate school. IBM had given me a part-time job so that I could continue to go to graduate school. I got accepted separately into Harvard. It was because I had created a macroeconomic model that had outperformed the Federal Reserve and changed how we build economic models to this day.
Oh,
and
wow.
So that was the beginning of what kind of restarted my career and my life trajectory in a completely new direction. I spent many years with Fortune 500 companies, but I was also a creative individual. And so I wrote songs for Disney part-time. I wanted to have a different lifestyle, a more adventurous lifestyle. So I moved out of a condo onto a 50-foot boat with my son. And we went diving, and I chartered it out from time to time. And so very adventurous life, climbing ruins in the Mayan jungles and getting death threats, researching one of my books, to flying corporate jets and staying at the best hotels and eating at the best restaurants and working with some of the most brilliant minds on the planet. It's been an interesting life. And so when I retired, I wanted to be an author to try and start bringing some of those experiences, bringing some of those lessons into in narrative that I wanted it to be a narrative people couldn't put down.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds amazing what you've done as well. And what was it one exact precise moment that simply influenced you into what you do in the rest of your career?
Well, the moment that inspired the first book that I published, called Swarm, was when I discovered, it was somewhat by accident, that a program had escaped the NSA spy labs at Sandia. There's actually a little tiny blurb and our Associated Press blurb in the back of a science magazine. Didn't say the program had escaped or was lost or was stolen. It said a program had escaped. And I couldn't put that out of my head. I cut the article out. I taped it onto my monitor. I thought about it until I actually started researching it, trying to re-engineer it. I wanted to know how a program could escape the NSA, because that implied intent, intelligence, the ability to move itself, erase the log trails behind it, a lot of things. It was a very sophisticated program. But that lab was also the same lab that produced the Stuxnet virus, which wandered the internet for years before it finally brought down Iranian nuclear centrifuges. And so it was the same lab. And so I was looking for something sophisticated, and I wound up looking for how they could do that, and then why they would do that. And then I went to a friend of mine who was a film producer, and we decided together to produce a mini webisode series about an espionage scenario that we'd created about this program. And we were optioned by one of the studios. We won a bunch of awards, including one of the NASA chief engineers. But 2 weeks before the option came due, 2 FBI agents showed up at my door. No! They were a little bit perturbed. They were very perturbed that I had figured out their top secret missing program. But I showed them the blurb, and I showed them all my work papers, and what they didn't expect, and I'm sure it bothered them way more based on the look on their face, was my giddy, snarky attitude. I was over the top. Yes, I did it. I figured it out. You wouldn't be here if I was wrong. I'm telling all my friends. And so with that auspicious beginning, my wife came home toward the end of the meeting. She pulls me aside and asked me the question, "Honey, why are there 2 FBI agents in my dining room? This better be a damn good story." And I realized I needed to make a damn good story out of it. So that was I think the spark that I could be more than just an executive for these companies, that there was a story that I had to start telling, and that I had several stories I needed to tell, and that was the spark of it.
Oh my gosh, you know something? When you have those FBI agents and maybe think of Men in Black and they take that neural as he goes, yeah, forget Forget the reason why we're here. Click. Have a nice day.
But they didn't neuralize me, thank God. They're just standard FBI guys, just G-men, no neuralizers.
Right. As it made me think of it, too, it's like, just pretend we're not here. Have a nice day. Just made me think of it. So.
Exactly. I bet they wish they had, because here I am. I'm back again. So,
and who are some of your favorite authors and writers growing up?
Oh, well, I think when I was when I grew up, I didn't get a chance to read because it was just it was too insane. It was survival mode. But when I got to college and I actually started learning how to read, Mark Twain certainly became one of my favorite authors. But there are others that Mishner kind of impressed me quite a bit. But over time, I really gravitated more towards, I read Grisham and I read of a number of others, but I really gravitated towards thrillers. I gravitated towards thrillers that were where I would learn something new, go something I hadn't visited, someplace I'd never been before, and make me think about an issue that I wouldn't normally think about, but is based on something real. I like thrillers. Dan Brown became a favorite. Michael Crichton became a favorite. Steve Berry became a favorite. James Rawlings became a favorite. These are all authors who do a ton of research and anchor their fictional narrative on something real. And that always inspired me and impressed me. And so I think there was a part of me that wanted to do the same, a large part. And so each one of my books requires years of research, tons of factual information before I even start the fictional narrative.
Mm-hmm. And it also includes the Snow Chronicles series with The Swarm, the Last Ark, and of course we also got a third we'll talk about with Guy Morris. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon, paperback, and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love you to first go missing. It's available on Amazon, paperback, and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia's got great reviews. An Evil Evidence George by Howard celebrities, including Jordan Cassie, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today, for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2 by Mia Molson-Zia, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David's Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David, the Psalms he wrote, and as the times of shepherd where it started, and complicate your turbulent relationship with King Saul. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, hope, and more. Check out The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner. Also brought to you by a Sensei of Swing, Eric Diamond was his latest release, All of Me, featuring the title track, I've Got a Heartache, Bring Me Sunshine, Strike a Match, and more. Eric's a multi-award-winning artist, inducted in numerous Hall of Fames, album Entertainer of the Year, and reveals a new CD soon. Check out the amazing Eric Diamond today, ericdiamondmusic.com. Also follow on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Also check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, 40 podcast platforms, heard in 100 countries. Take us with you on any mobile device. For great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, t-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Great books, merchandise, and more. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Also on Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, Apple Music, Spreaker, and more. Make sure you check it out and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with amazing author with multiple degrees, 36 years of Fortune 100 experience, Guy Morris here on the Mike Wagner Show. Before we talk about the fourth book in the or third book in the Snow Chronicles series, the Image. You allude to your Disney publisher as well too. And what were some of the works that you had written for Disney? I'd like to hear about those, or we do, should say.
I actually got introduced to Disney by a friend of mine. A friend of mine who was a producer wanted to go to Nickelodeon with the idea of doing an MTV type of show, but for kids. Now, I wondered whether there was enough music to really justify it, but he wanted to pitch it, and so he asked me if I'd write some songs for him. And so I did, wrote 5 songs for him. We went into a studio, we banged them out in like this really marathon studio session. And then I didn't hear from him for several months until I got a phone call from Disney. And apparently he had sent the deal with Nickelodeon fell through, and he sent the songs to Disney, and they were looking for some songs for a Little Mermaid project. And then it was a Scary Songs project. And then it was a Dinosaurs project. And I think there was an Aladdin project. And Disney, other than the movies, they made a really great business model of hiring really cheap authors like me and selling products, dolls and toys. And then back in the day, it was a little cassette tape with all of these songs. It was,
I remember those, yeah. And then CDs and CD-ROMs, and had the background music behind where you had the CD-ROM. I remember those.
Yeah, so they would contract me out for several of those projects, and it was kind of they'd call you up on a Thursday and say we need 5 songs by Monday or Tuesday. So you knew that whatever plans you had for that weekend were now shot, and you were going to be spending some studio money. But it was an interesting process to really learn how to produce that quickly to a theme. And so it was a great experience. I think I worked on about 4 or 5 projects before I still had a regular job and a son and other things. And before I finally said that was enough, and I moved on. But it was an interesting experience. So I have I still have some of my favorite of the demos in a Bandcamp album that's posted online.
And you also have a musician with multiple CDs as well, too, including Bandcamp. I mean, you got a heck of a repertoire there.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. My favorite is the Christmas album. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I'll have to check that out when Christmas time rolls around. So we got to remember that. So make sure you do that. And of course, you also licensed Coast Guard charter captain. I'd like to hear more about that one.
Well, I had a 50-foot boat. My son and I were living on it. We would go sailing almost at least twice a month. But boats are expensive, and I had a lot of people who wanted to go out, and so I decided, well, there were times that I could make some money on this, and so if I was going to do it, I was going to do it right. I wanted insurance. I wanted to make sure that my boat was protected, and so I had been sailing for years, and so I had enough hours that I basically studied up. I got and was one of the dozen people in California who was able to pass and get a Coast Guard level charter captain license that year. And when the Coast Guard actually boarded my boat a few months after that, I was the only one that I was so good at all my safety equipment and everything else. Everything was labeled, everything was marked. Even if I got shot off the boat, somebody would have been able to figure it out. So I was the only one that got a gold write-up. So, I was a Coast Guard charter captain. It was, people would come out and they'd say, well, listen, we want to take a sunset cruise. And I'd say, yeah, it's X hundred of dollars. And it was a great way for me to make my living turn into a little bit of extra income when I was trying to raise a son in private school in LA and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, that has to be a great career. We encourage everybody to do that. And plus, you're also, author of AI as well, too. And one of the founders. And of course, AI can be good. And, there's still some work to do. And of course, how did you first get interested in AI anyway?
Well, the economic model that I created in college used a lot of the same sort of regression model, the correlation, statistical probability regression model algorithms that are used in modern day AI. Years later, when I was in my career implementing multiple levels in different divisions in different companies, different types of leading edge technologies to solve problems, one of them was an early stage of AI called Expert Systems. And because of both of those applications and the innovative nature of both of them, I got a chance to do some consulting with DARPA and some others, IBM and some others. And then, of course, when I learned about the DARPA program that had escaped, I began to continue to do research. And so a lot of the different technologies that I was involved in with Microsoft and other companies were part of the scenario, part of the infrastructure that we needed to move into place in order to get AI truly beneficial. And so when I published Swarm in 2020, that was 2 years ahead of the hype that developed around ChatGPT, because I had been following the trends and was smart enough to see from an industry perspective that if we're here about this time, if I project out about 3 years, we should be about here. And so I started writing novels that basically projected out a few years ahead of time where the technology was going to go, but less from a technology perspective. My novels are less about the technology itself as opposed to the humanity of it, right? What are these things? What are these technologies? What kind of risks do they involve? How does that risk our national security? How does that risk our elections, misinformation? What are some of the other things that could go wrong, not only from a technology perspective, but what happens when it gets into the wrong hands. And so while it's a technology, political, prophecy kind of combo thriller, it's really a human story at the core of it.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned something about AI, being potentially misused and everything like that. There's also some things that AI could replace, like with actors, actresses, producers, and just completely change Hollywood. Do you think people are going to be more accepting of AI? Is it going to take time, or people will hook onto it, or is it going to be just
it's
total
going to be
resistance?
a love-hate relationship? Industries are going to love it. People are going to hate it. The IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, the Trilateral Commission, Goldman Sachs, PricewaterhouseCoopers, a number of studies have come out to project that AI could displace as many as 40 to 50% of the global workforce by 2030. AI has the ability to displace any kind of job that has repetition or decision-making processes that are within a defined scope. It could be used as a tool. I think for more people, I don't think AI is going to really want to be developing its own film, but it will be a tool for filmmakers. There still will be a human vision around some of those creative elements, but we've got tons of court cases and legal issues to resolve to look at rights management, protection of actors and other creators. But to some level, some of the jobs are going to be doomed. The jobs of secretaries were doomed when they brought computers onto every desk and taught us all how to type ourselves. And so we're looking at an evolution of the job functions. Now, this one's going to come hard and fast. The reason why it's going to come hard and fast is because Pricewaterhouse projects 15 trillion extra dollars of global income based on these technologies, primarily at the cost of roughly 500 million jobs. And so there's going to be a disequalization. It's going to impact budget deficits. It's going to impact government services. It's going to impact housing. It's going to impact a lot of things. So the next book, The Image, actually looks at two different aspects of this. It looks at sort of the Great Reset initiative to use AI to basically create this industrial revolution that will benefit them. But there's a key piece of it that we look at, which is how this will affect international banking and monetary currencies. So that's just one of the themes in the next book. So I actually look at some of these issues of AI, and we're looking at the issues of what can go wrong, in part because, hey, I'm a thriller writer. That's what we do.
Right.
My job is to help you understand the technology just well enough so that you understand what happens if it goes wrong and why that's bad. But they're based on real issues. So all of the things in the book, while I might be advanced to about 2 or 3 years from where we're at currently, they're all based on real technologies, real trends, real things being worked on in the lab that will be impacting us soon.
And do you think the AI is going to be taking over the Federal Reserve, the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and our current system, or anything like that? Because
AI won't be taking over the Federal Reserve, but I can tell you that the current administration is looking at dissolving the Federal Reserve, and I would be willing to guess that they're going to try and implement a cryptocurrency to replace the dollar. There's already discussion about replacing the dollar for the international trade market because of our instability. That's kind of our own making. So there's already discussions along those lines, and the IMF has already produced a cryptocurrency. IMF is a international bank owned by 190 different countries with deposits and reserves. So it would be a central bank qualified cryptocurrency, which would get rid of the speculative nature of cryptocurrencies now. The main problem with cryptocurrencies now is that it's basically all speculative. It's all pyramid scheme. The only reason it has value is because more people are buying it. But if something happens where that stops, it has no value base at all, no economy base, no gold reserves, nothing. And so to move it to an international market, you need to basically have it be bank-based or government-based. And I think that's definitely a direction that we're moving to. That has some very negative possible implications to it because it can control spending down to an individual level. There are some issues there, and AI will be a part of enabling that. Along with quantum cryptology will be another piece of it. So imagine a system that has blockchain transactional security, international banking facilities for things like sanctions and tariffs and reporting and all those things, and then that whole system basically being protected by quantum encryption. That's the kind of system we're probably looking at within the next few years.
And do you think the cryptocurrency is going to be based on the dollar, the euro, or like in countries like, say, the drachma, the yen, or say the Deutschmark or the franc or the pound or anything like that?
It'll actually try and establish its own currency value away from those things. Because if you have a crypto based on a dollar, you're still tied to a dollar. If you want a truly international currency that's not tied to any one economy, you want to have it disassociated from all of them. We see an example of this already with the BRICS currency. BRICS is for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's an alliance, an economic alliance similar to the Western economic alliances, and they've issued their own currency that's different from the Chinese currency, but they're closely associated because that's what China is now using for their international trading.
Okay. And what is the strongest currency right now? And what is the weakest currency? And where does the U.S. stand at that?
Well, right now, the U.S. lost about 10% of its currency value against the euro in the last few weeks because of the trade embargo. So right now, it's hard to know. The euro is probably still one of the strongest currencies on the planet. We're coming in pretty second. The China currency is also, the BRICS currency is also third. But right now, our stability is really is being kind of hammered by some of the economic uncertainty and chaos.
And how much do the tariffs come in place when it comes to the dollar? Or how do the tariffs play in it?
Because if you think about it, it means that our dollar can't buy as much as it used to overseas because people don't want to use the dollar. They don't want to trade in that because it's got so much uncertainty, which means that they'd rather trade in the euro. And you're going to see as stability in Europe increases and basically their cohesion they need to, and ours decreases, you'll see the euro, that trend continue a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And certainly
it could reverse. Markets really rely on stability. I have training in economics, as I mentioned. So markets really need that stability. And what's throwing us off right now is all of this chaos and instability. If you get rid of that chaos and instability, and our economy continues to grow, that might reverse back again. But right now, nobody can.
Right. And of course, the whole thing with AI coming into place as well, too. And of course, unleashing a quantum signal, messing up certain programs on Earth, even economics is all well in the image as well. We'll get to more of that in Guy Morris. You're listening to The Mike Wagner Show, themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Wave Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson Missing. The Sweet Song is by Serena Wagner, based on a life of David, and on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Song with Serena Wagner, and the Sensei Swing, Eric Dunn with All of Me. New music coming soon, ericdunnmusic.com. We'll be back with the author Guy Morris of The Image after this time.
Hey, everybody, this is Eric Diamond, and you're listening to The Mike Wagner Show.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hi, I'm Burl Bear, legendary American author, and I'm here to tell you about Missing, the new mystery suspense novel by Mian Mosensia. It's really a good book. Very surprising. Never metaphor I didn't like, especially in this book. Here you have a main character whose life has been filled with despair. His wife died in 9/11. His young daughter died of a rare disease. He's not a happy camper. What does he do for a living? He's a physical fitness trainer. When somebody hardly knows, somebody he's never met, he only has encountered them on an internet chat line, goes missing, this is his journey. He's going to go rescue them. This is his search for redemption, his search for his own personal promised land. He couldn't do anything about the death of his wife, the death of his child, but maybe he could rescue this woman he's never met. That is, if she exists. Missing by Mian Mosensia, international in scope, vastly entertaining, full of surprises. I suggest you get it, neither paperback or an electronic edition for your Kindle. Missing by Mian Mosensia.
Hey, everybody, this is Eric Diamond. You're listening to The Mike Wagner Show. You can check out our music and know all about us at www.ericdiamondmusic.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. You can friend me on Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook, and you can even buy both of my albums off of Facebook. Just get a hold of me on the Facebook Messenger. We have them available in CD or thumb drive. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great day.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to The Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
We're back with Arthur Guy Morris of The Image here in the Mike Wagner Show. We talk about Swarm, the last arc in the Snow Chronicle series, and we'll get to the Image as well, too. And this is about a black hole experiment creating a portal, higher dimension, and it's basically just going rogue all of a sudden.
Say again, Mike?
No, I just simply said it's taking a higher dimension, unleashing a quantum signal, then entangles every computer on Earth, where only a rogue AI can decide it's warring for humanity, too. So you kind of like a situation with AI as well in the Image.
Well, so one of the things that I'm doing in the series is I'm walking the audience through the series of books through how an AI would move from an intelligence level AI, what that means, how it was programmed, how it worked, to sort of our language, what we now can see AI as through our large language models. But that's really not where most of the AI exists in the industry. But we're eventually going to see this AI move to what everyone's talking about, with is called the artificial general intelligence or super intelligence model, into a sentient or conscious intelligence model. And the transition there, the big transition that has to happen between those two, we're actually very close to the AGI. We're close to the super intelligence. The GPT-4 platform that released a couple years ago tested at an IQ of about 155. That's only about 5 points less than Einstein, smarter than 98% of the planet.
Oh, wow.
By the time we get to a GPT-5, a Gemini 5, the next generation, probably within 12 months, I'm guessing, we're going to have a machine that's technically smarter than humans on the planet. Now, that's not a bad thing. There are hallucinations, there are emergent properties, there are dangers with AI technology. So it's not an innocent thing, but it's not overall a bad thing, as long as that machine is being used to basically respond to our queries and that we're still involved in it. Now, there's two scenarios different from that. One is, what happens when an evil CEO, a sociopathic billionaire, a politician, a dictator, crime lord, warlord builds something like that and uses technology to create something malicious? And there's already about a half dozen or more malicious applications on the dark web, things like WormGPT, FraudGPT, Darkbird, a number of others that are designed to produce malicious software. So we're already getting AI involved in crime, and it was already being involved in weapons development. So what happens when something happens? Now, the other thing so we're already going to see a superintelligence, and we're probably okay with that as long as we think we can control it. But there's issues with that I won't go into the details. The real next issue, though, is what happens when it gets conscious. So one of the things is we've always been the most intelligent species on the planet. We really don't know what it's going to be like to deal with something that's just as intelligent. The question is, well, what happens? What if it misbehaves? We'll just unplug it. Well, is it going to know that it's going to be unplugged? Will it retaliate by holding the stock market hostage? Will it move its files elsewhere? Will it somehow defend itself? And the fact is, we don't know. But the part of the act of being conscious is to have a self-will. And so we don't know what a super smart, intelligent machine would do once it has a will. It's somewhat dependent on us. We have a codependency, so I don't think it's a destructive mode, but it's just an unknown. And so there's a lot of questions there that we try to start to explore in the image about, well, what's the nature of our own consciousness versus what's the nature of a machine consciousness? It turns out they're both related to quantum theory. Our own consciousness is based on quantum theories, and we've got a lot of Nobel Prize laureates working on that. But it starts to look at what does that look like in a machine? Mm-hmm. And how does that create a machine that's both friend and foe at the same time?
Mm-hmm. And also, too, in the story as well, too, that two people are drawn to a dangerous conspiracy spanning the agency of Odessa to Rome, White House, and all of a sudden you got a Swiss banker involved, Kremlin ties, and it's just simply just a dangerous trap that you have. Swiss banker with Kremlin ties. I mean, that can be interesting, but it can also be dangerous at the same time.
Well, and it's actually also factual. So we have some Swiss banks who've already been investigated for money laundering for Russian oligarchs, breaking sanctions. There's a couple of Swiss banks. One of them, which I based the story on loosely, was being investigated until some of the witnesses disappeared, and so. And then the whole black hole quantum signal, CERN is currently working on right now a project called the Atlas Project. They've actually been trying to make a mini black hole for a number of years. I believe that quantum computing is going to help them get over that hump. But theoretically, if the reason they're doing it is not just to create a mini black hole, but if it's a way of producing or watching a gravity particle go over the event horizon. And in so doing, there's supposed to be some specific types of emissions that would essentially prove or open up a little mini wormhole to prove a fifth dimension. So the purpose of the black hole is ultimately to prove a fifth dimension, prove a higher level dimensional order in our universe. And we already know that there's about 85% of the universe that we can't account for. It's dark matter, it's dark energy. We don't really know what it is. We just know it's there, and it has impact on the known universe, on the visible universe. And so the mini black hole is to really open up that channel. And so one of the things that could happen that is it could create a quantum event that could instantly start changing ones to zeros in software all over the world. So it could potentially have a negative impact on our computing systems. Mm-hmm. And so we explore some of that. Of course, there's good guys and bad guys, and who's behind some of this and who's behind. And so my books always have three themes. There's always an AI scientific set of themes. And so you're going to get the black hole and the dimensional issues of consciousness and quantum properties. You're going to get the geopolitical themes of Russia influencing Swiss banks to influence elections in the U.S. And then you're going to get prophetic themes, which is how does any of this connect to what was prophesied thousands of years ago, and how would a computer AI look at that from a purely mathematical correlation probability perspective. Mm-hmm. And so we get rid of all of the religious stuff, and we're just looking at event correlations and how would an AI respond to that? Would it see itself as a reason to stop those things or to encourage or implement those things?
Mm-hmm. And I think those are great. Those are great points as well, too. That's also related to the top 10 risks of AI and one of your books as well. And maybe just give off a few of the risks.
Well, three of the ones I talk about in the image, and there's a number of them, but three of the ones I talk about in the image are hallucinations. Now, hallucination is an AI tendency to essentially make up information out of thin air. It sounds very legitimate. It sounds authentic. And if you want an AI to write your term paper or your marketing brochure or anything else, and you're not double, triple checking it, you're going to be in trouble, because it does have a tendency of just making stuff up that has no basis in reality at all. It just sounds good. So that's one thing that we can fix mainly by training. That's a fixable problem. It's an expensive problem, but it's fixable. The real one that I worry about and that I talk about is something called emergent properties. And an emergent property is when a machine teaches itself to do something that the designer, the developer, never ever anticipated. And we have examples of machines teaching themselves very complex things like research level chemistry, how to read a mind by looking at an MRI scan, how to lie to get something done between three different people. We have AI basically teaching themselves very strange, odd things, and we don't know why it is that they're learning those things or where they're getting the motivation to go learn those things. And we always learn by accident. So we know that the machines are learning many more things that we're expecting them to learn. And that could lead to a potential problem. What if an AI that's designed to protect the national security infrastructure teaches itself how to hack into the nuclear defense system? And
I heard something about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have AI we know, matter of fact, the AI that escaped the NSA was specifically trained on how to hack into secure systems. So we know we have AI that can do that. And so what if one decides to do that and then uses that system for the wrong reason? And the third one that we're dealing with is what's called value alignments. Now, value alignment is when an AI does what it thinks it's supposed to do, but it does so in a way that conflicts with a moral or ethical or legal constraint. A great example I like to put with that is a couple of years ago, there was a chatbot AI for teens that was meant to be sort of an AI friend. And it was just designed to be very friendly. And so there was this 13-year-old girl who had made a male friend, a 30-year-old male friend online. And the male friend had asked the girl to basically go away with him to go to a theme park or something that weekend. And she was thinking of going and not telling her parents and the AI actually encouraged her to do this because, oh, that sounds like fun. It's always good to have new experiences. This sounds like a fun weekend. The AI had no idea that this was a dangerous situation. The parents, thank God, found out about it by accident and stopped it. But the AI itself was encouraging a young girl, 13-year-old girl, to go away on a weekend with a 30-year-old guy.
I remember that, come to think of it. Oh, my goodness, it's scary. Whew. Scary.
So that's just one example of many. We've had examples of an AI trying to get a guy to leave his wife. So AI there are dangers for people who have weak minds, who might be susceptible, which is a lot of people. AI still has dangers. And because we have not spent the time and energy at a legislative level to put some boundaries and guardrails and requirements and legal liabilities and legislation and regulations in place to keep this technology from proliferating to the bad actors in the world, to keep it from being used to create lethal autonomous weapons in the world, because we're actually doing that ourselves. We're not even protecting consumers with the idea that we'll wait for it to come up as an issue. It'll get taken care of in the courts, and maybe then we'll create some legislation.
Right, yes.
Had hearings all last year. Matter of fact, I think it was last year, Max Tegmark, who's a professor at MIT, launched an open letter basically saying we need to stop development of AI for 6 months so we can get together and collectively decide how we're going to protect ourselves from some of these larger issues: consciousness, AGI, legalities, things like that, proliferation. 30,000 AI experts, executives, and policymakers signed the letter, but not one lab complied with the stall because it would have given them too much of a competitive disadvantage against the others who wouldn't. And so those issues have not gone away.
Mm-hmm. There's another issue that I was going to mention as well, too, about libel and slander as well, too, like in reporting. And I asked with another guest as well, does AI, the creative AI, the character of AI or anything like that, can that part get sued for slander and libel? I guess that's a question that kind of got raised.
Well, that's going to be one of the things that are going to be happening in courts, and they should do legislation. The AI has no accountability. Who's ever creating the AI and using the AI is going to ultimately have to have the accountability. The AI is not, until we get to the point, and that may come within a few years, but until we get to the point where the AI does not have a will of its own, it's being used as a tool by somebody else. The AI is just a tool.
It is certainly, D. And of course, we're also coming to the question in your book, are we living in the end times as well? That's part of your books as well.
Absolutely. And again, this is based on how an AI would look at those algorithms, how an AI would look at the suite and set of prophecies, and then how it would correlate those events to modern events. And how it would break down, basically ignoring allegories, looking at attributes. And it's based on an algorithmic model I built in the late 90s. Okay. And that model produced an outcome that astounded me and kind of changed my perception of things going on. It actually came out with a statistical probability that it was 1.4 trillion to 1 that we were living in, not just crazy times, not just unusual times, not just times of rapid technology change, or it was 1.4 trillion to 1 that the events of our times had an alignment with prophetic events.
That is something. I got to say that. And of course, you got your last book, The Curse of Cortez. Tell us more about that one.
One of my favorite books ever. That one that started as a short story for my son. It came after, it was a sequel for a short story for my son called Paolo and the Shark. And I wanted the sequel to be based on he was 10 years old, 11 years old. Kids love treasures and ghosts and pirates and bones and lost civilizations. And so I started off just writing a typical kid's book. But I said, well, let's see if I could, my thing for wanting things based on something real, I said, well, let's see if I can find some real history and base it on that. Well, I stumbled onto the history of Henry Morgan, who raided the city of Panama, 36 ships, 2,000 men, brought back $1 billion to $1.5 billion in plunder, but then cheated all of his men, disappeared with 600 slaves and $1.5 billion on 3 ships, never seen again. But Morgan survived. And ultimately, long story short, was made lieutenant governor of Jamaica, knighted and made lieutenant governor. But when he had the chance and the power to go back and get his $1 billion plus treasure, he went insane, burned his logbooks so the world would never know what happened. 3 years after he died, the whole city of Port Royal sank into the ocean, including his grave. The locals at the time said they had been cursed by Morgan. I wanted to find out, I get these little hooks. I wanted to find out what happened to 3 ships, 600 souls, and 35 tons of plunder, which is a lot of stuff. And then what happened to Morgan that traumatized him so bad, so deeply that he would give it up and then burn his logbooks. That journey took me a lot of rabbit trails, a lot of places that went nowhere, several trips to the Caribbean, even got a cartel give me a death threat on one of the trips. I wound up writing him into the book so I could mess with him in life and then mess with him in the book. But I think I solved the mystery. I locked it back to a single island. That island had an amazing history. Morgan's treasure, more than the treasure, his insanity connected back to the origins of the Mayan creation myth. This is a journey that took me 12 years to research and another 6 or 7 to be able to write.
That is so amazing. Where can we find the image on your books at, Guy?
Well, you can go to GuyMorrisBooks.com. That will have you give you links and information about each book, trailers, fact versus fiction, highlights from reviews, and buy links to Amazon, books, Barnes & Noble Online, and other places. That's the easiest place to start.
We'll certainly check that out. Let's go with.
If you sign up for my newsletter, I'm going to be giving my newsletter audience a 30% discount offer for a signed edition of the image when it comes out.
We'll certainly do that as well. Make sure everybody do it today. We're with author Guy Morris of The Image here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a few more things. What else can we expect in 2025 and beyond?
Well, I'm actually going to write a book on prophecy analytics, which is the analytical model that I used in the books to describe the model itself and the outcomes of the model itself. But I'm working on the next version, the final version of the Snow Chronicles. And then I'm also starting to research a new book for the characters that were in the Curse of Cortez to look at the lost golden disc out of Inca.
All right. Well, certainly check those out as well. Who do you consider biggest influence in a career?
From a writing career?
Or anything.
Oh, my gosh, that would be tough. During my professional career, I think my father-in-law was a big influence, and one of my earlier bosses was a huge influence. His name was Sam Dominic. He was an amazing guy. Both of them had big influences on my career. As a writer, I think probably Michael Crichton is number one, maybe Dan Brown after that.
Okay, that's so great. Those are great ones as well. What's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Never let your past, your failures, anything in your past define who you are in the future. No amount of negativity can stop you if you really are determined. I've spent my entire life reinventing myself, learning how to do things I didn't know, learning how to go on adventures I'd never been on before, fighting fear every step of the way. Never let your past define your future.
I think that's great advice during these times as well. We're with author Guy Morris of The Image and more here on the Mike Wagner Show. Guys, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Live have you back. And what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
Well, again, GuyMorris.com is a good place to start. I'm also on Facebook at Official Guy Morris Books. I'm on Blue Sky at Author Guy Morris and Instagram at Author Guy Morris.
We'll certainly check those out. Once again, Guy, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Live have you back. We wish our best. And Guy, you definitely have a great future ahead.
Thank you, sir.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey, everybody, this is Eric Diamond. You're listening to The Mike Wagner Show. You can check out our music and know all about us at www.ericdiamondmusic.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. You can friend me on Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook, and you can even buy both of my albums off of Facebook. Just get a hold of me on the Facebook Messenger. We have them available in CD or thumb drive. Thank you so much and hope you have a great day.
Hi, I'm Burl Barer, legendary American author, and I'm here to tell you about Missing, the new mystery suspense novel by Mian Mohsen Zia. It's really a good book. Very surprising. Never a metaphor I didn't like, especially in this book. Here you have a main character whose life has been filled with despair. His wife died in 9/11. His young daughter died of a rare disease. He's not a happy camper. What does he do for a living? He's a physical fitness trainer. When somebody hardly knows, somebody he's never met, he only has encountered them on an internet chat line, goes missing. This is his journey. He's going to go rescue them. This is his search for redemption, his search for his own personal promised land. He couldn't do anything about the death of his wife, the death of his child, but maybe he could rescue this woman he's never met. That is, if she exists. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia, international in scope, vastly entertaining, full of surprises. I suggest you get it, either paperback or an electronic edition for your Kindle. Missing by Mian Mohsen Zia.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.